everyone. My name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we are going to be talking about vanilla DOMs. What are they exactly? And an answer to that question is surprisingly hard to find. So we are going to go on a whole journey together to find that answer. And where our journey begins is with, of course, a humble TikTok. Now, I made a video recently where I reacted to kinktoks, which are TikToks made by kinky folk or about kinky folk on TikTok. And most of them are very fun and interesting and nice, and it was a great little video. We had a fun time. However, there was one TikTok I didn't fully jive with. And this was a TikTok made by a creator named Marcus, I believe. And in their TikTok, they basically had a group of multiple different types of dominance, all berating a single fake dom. Now, that's not the problem with the TikTok. The problem with it is they used a term I'd never heard before, which is vanilla dom. And when I saw that in the TikTok, it kind of melted my brain a little bit. Like, I did not know how to take the phrase vanilla dom. I was like, what does that even mean? And as it turns out, not a lot of other people know what a vanilla dom is either. Now, of course, the most obvious way to go, which is what most people told me to do, is to simply ask the creator what they mean by vanilla dom. However, this is not the only time this has come up. I'm not the first person to go, wait, what's a vanilla dom under that TikTok? Now, this TikTok is older. It came out, I believe, in 2020, and I did not see any comments replied to by that creator. Like, there's just no engagement underneath that TikTok. What I did see, though, was a lot of people asking, wait, what's a vanilla dom now? And no one getting a clear answer. So I thought, well, this must be like other common neologisms that have been made on TikTok, right? Like soft dom or hard dom or pleasure dom even. And like there has to be information out there about what this type of dom is. And no, my life can't be that easy. The answer was not that simple to find, okay? So we had to do a bit of investigating here. So I thought, okay, the creator of that TikTok isn't saying what a vanilla dom is. Surely this can't be too hard to find on TikTok. As I discovered, that was not necessarily the case. So what I did was I searched all over TikTok. I used every different combination of words I could think of and hashtags and searches with vanilla, dom, dominant, master, DS, BDSM, kink, anything like that, all jumbled up together in increasingly strange combinations. And the only thing I could find were TikToks where somebody would say vanilla dom in them, like in text, but not a single one where anyone defined what a vanilla dom actually is. I could not find a single one. And so, hey, if you're better at TikTok than I am, if you can actually brute force TikTok into showing you proper search results, I would love to know if there is a TikTok that actually says the phrase vanilla dom and explains what it is, because that is really what I want to know. But I couldn't find it. I could not get TikTok to show me that information. And naturally, I had to move on to other options. One of those options was to crowdsource from you all, use your collective brain power to figure out what exactly a vanilla dom is. And here are some of the many different categories of ideas we had about what a vanilla dom possibly could be. So one is a vanilla dom is someone who likes to be in charge in the relationship, but it doesn't go beyond that. So basically, they just do power exchange and they have no other kinks that they do in the relationship. Or two, a vanilla dom isn't an actual dom. A vanilla dom is someone who pretends to be a dom to get laid, but in reality isn't into BDSM at all, which sounds likely to me, but let's keep going. We have 3. I always figured vanilla dom was just a dom that hasn't characterized themselves, i.e. they're a plain dom, they're not a brat tamer or a sadist or something like that. And then 4, my assumption is that vanilla dom is referencing someone with natural vanilla preferences who chooses to be a dom for their naturally submissive partner. There's also 5, what I guess a vanilla dom is. Someone who only has vanilla intimacy and directs their partner more than most vanilla people. And 6, people don't know what tops are, so they are like, I'm in charge in bed, but we don't do anything kinky, so I'm like a vanilla dom. Alright, and then 7 we have, or even, vanilla dom is totally an oxymoron. It's a slang term for being straight. And finally, just error 404, which frankly, same. I vibe with that one probably the most. But as you can tell with all these different definitions, there's a lot of mutually exclusive ways of thinking about being a vanilla dom potentially. So that doesn't necessarily help us figure out what a vanilla dom is supposed to be, but it gives us some maybe rough ideas of what people commonly associate with the phrase vanilla dom. So the search continues. Now, the next thing that got suggested, maybe more than anything else I saw in the comments, was, but Evie, Urban Dictionary has a definition for vanilla dom. Here's what it is. That is very clearly what being a vanilla dom is. Now, I'm very skeptical of anything that is put on Urban Dictionary. That is like the Wikipedia of dictionaries. It's usually pretty accurate, but you can't always take it at face value. Like, look at the definition of just dominant, and maybe this is a function of age more than anything else, because this is apparently from 2003, but I think this one maybe isn't the most accurate thing to go off of if things with so many open typos and errors are getting through their system, you know? And it even gets worse. Like, if you look at niche kinks, like primal, for example, the definitions aren't that much better. They're actually quite a lot worse the more niche you end up going. Like, it's not necessarily a terrible definition. It's not the worst definition imaginable, but it's also not that good either. Like, it's kind of the definition I would expect to get from somebody who generally knows what that kink is, but they haven't really interrogated the nuances of it. Like, it fits for a lot of cases, but not every case. And some of them, like the ones for CNC, some of the popular ones are just outright wrong. They're just misinformed or way too narrow, or just like there's no citation for where that idea comes from, like why the definition is the way that it is. So can't really trust Urban Dictionary just at face value, because even when the definitions are like broadly correct, they're only broadly correct. They're not really accurate in like a niche, nuanced way like you'd probably want to have for something as niche as vanilla dom is. So I don't trust Urban Dictionary. I would not recommend using it as a source. And of course, there's lots of definitions on Urban Dictionary that are just outright jokes. So I definitely don't trust those ones either. Now, they do have some definitions for vanilla dom, and I heard both of these used in my comment section to try and explain that there is a definition for vanilla dom. You'll see why this is potentially a problem here in a moment. The first one reads, a vanilla dom, sometimes referred to as a vanilla top or vanilla dom top, is a dominant subtype in the BDSM lexicon. It's usually associated within the gay male community, but not exclusively. Vanilla doms are generally characterized by sexual arousal and identity related to dominant behavior, sexual top position, and traditional sexual roles within the gender binary. What makes them unique to the broader LGBT/BDSM community is their openness to monogamy and trend to a more heteronormative approach to relationships and life. They're generally attracted submissive, smooth, younger partners. While it's not absolute, generally they avoid classic, clamps, paddles, chains, BDSM gear, multiple partners, circuit parties, PNP, etc. Often, they are high earners and avoid drugs and alcohol and value fitness, health, and industriousness. However, like I mentioned, there is a second definition for vanilla dom on Urban Dictionary, which reads as follows. A person that pretends to be a dom to get laid, but are in reality not actually into anything, very kinky. They are generally not dangerous like the fake doms, just annoying and wildly disappointing. These people think the kink community equals easy to get laid. There can also be vanilla subs and vanilla doms, spelled D-O-M-M-E-S. And as this definition suggests, there is a second entry for vanilla dom with a different spelling, D-O-M-M-E, and even that one is yet different in its definition of what it means to be a vanilla dom. And these are both very, very different definitions, which is why it's hard for me to say that one is superior to the other, because I saw some people say, you know, Urban Dictionary has it right, it's a term from the gay men's community, whereas other people would say, no, it's this one, they're basically fake doms. Like, both of those things cannot really be true unless we're saying that the BDSM community is so segmented, which is a possibility, that there are two separate prevalent definitions for one term, which could certainly happen. However, on TikTok, I feel like because of the very subject that TikTok is about, I have a feeling what was meant by this use of vanilla dom was probably much more like that first definition as opposed to the one that basically says they're like fake doms. And I could see that being the case. To have people tell me that that creator is actually bisexual, so maybe they got that term from their time being in the gay community, and that could certainly be a possibility. So with that in mind, if that first definition has some legs, if people do actually use that term in the gay men's community at least, I should be able to find something about it right on the internet. If I narrow my search enough, I should be able to find out more about the use of this term, because there are lots of overlaps between the gay men's community and the lesbian community and the het/pan community. Like, we associate with each other. So I should be able to discover something. It's the internet, it's 2023. I should be able to figure this one out, right? Well, I did some Googling and some searching on social media, and the results were not necessarily very promising from this point, even having the understanding that probably it came from the gay men's community. So what I did is I went on Google and I went on social media, and where I could, I tried to constrain the search results I would get to anything pre-2020. So before this TikTok came out, because what I didn't want to have happen is I didn't want to just reference very recent stuff. I wanted to see, okay, if this is actually a term, does it have any historical usage that might be buried by more recent social media content? So I went on Google, and basically everything I could find was not relevant at all. It was a lot of stuff that was on the lines of, you know, hey, can a vanilla guy make it work with a kinky girl? Or if you're a dom who's kinky, have you had a marriage or a healthy relationship to somebody who's not kinky? And I think those are good questions, but they're not really at all what I am looking for. And so I went on Reddit and I went to r/BDSM community, and I could find one post that used the phrase vanilla dom. However, it's very clear from the context and the language in the post that the original poster doesn't know anything about the BDSM community. They haven't been around for long enough or been involved at all to know about vanilla dom as a commonly used term that is actually a thing that happens. They basically say that they invented the term themselves to try and capture what they mean when they're describing the situation that they're in. It's not something they think is an actual known term or commonly used. It's pretty much the exact opposite of that. They came up with it on their own, so that's not really helpful there either. So I did some more searches on different communities on Reddit, and I found a couple I'm not going to name because they're very, very small and very niche, and I don't want to like blow up their spot, and also because they're like the content on there they post is just like, it is not safe for YouTube, I will say that much. And on those ones, they seem to use the phrase vanilla dom as a female findom term, where a vanilla dom is either a findom that doesn't provide extra services, if you catch my drift, with her findom behavior, or it refers to somebody who takes on the role of a findom but acts vanilla, is vanilla in everyday life. There's no pro-dom stuff, no kinkiness, not doing it as like a profession. It's part of like an everyday relationship. And I can see that term making sense, but that is like the direct opposite of like, this term is from the gay men's community, if the term is actually being used by straight male fin subs on a female findom subreddit. So not connected. I'm not seeing where that Urban Dictionary definition is coming from quite yet. So I went to some other social media. Can't use Facebook, can't use Instagram. Those ones are basically unsearchable, and also, if you try to put in anything kinky, it's all shadow banned at this point, so that's useless. And when I FetLife, also can't really search on FetLife either. The search feature for writing on there is hot garbage. Also came up with absolutely nothing. Went on Twitter, which I thought maybe would be more promising, and the only references to vanilla dom I could find were just, first of all, my tweets, and then also like word salad SEO, like captions to pictures for spam accounts that are trying to promote their OnlyFans or their pro-dom work. And so just running into dead ends over and over and over and over again. We are just not finding anything here. And so finally I was like, okay, social media has nothing. Let's go back to Google. So I went back to Google and I got real specific with the search terms and the date range. I was very precise. I used all different manner of word combinations, trying to make it very specifically about like the gay men's community and BDSM and everything else. And if I was very, very general and I looked back long enough, everything turned into references to JavaScript, so that's out. And then if I made it very directly connected to like the gay men's community, it would turn into a bunch of prawn results. And so that's not helpful either, because like I'm not looking for prawn. I'm trying to figure out what being a vanilla dom is. Thank you very much. So that also didn't help me at all. And I tried every single different combination of words I could think of. All different date ranges, all different websites. And finally, I found one blog. I found one blog article from 2011 that talks about vanilla subs. And in that blog, it is the author talking about how a vanilla sub is basically a sub they don't have to train. And it's basically when a partner or potential partner acts like they would expect they're submissive to without having to be told and without actually being in a power exchange relationship. So again, different use of the word vanilla and still not what I am looking for. And I'm making this video because y'all, I am out of options. Like, I do not know where else to search. I have asked the people I can ask. I have gone on the blogs and the newsletters and the social media and the websites I can go on to search for this. Like, I was on like specialty forums for like the gay men's BDSM community. I was on websites for that. I could not find any references to the phrase vanilla dom, and I feel like I am losing my mind. Is this term real? Did I hallucinate it? Did we all hallucinate it? Like, maybe it could be one of those things that is very much common in real life, in certain communities, in certain locations, but if you're not in those very particular spaces, you just like wouldn't find it online. Like, it could be one of those like, IRL exclusive bonus items, where like it's not on the internet, but you will find it in real life. That's a very distinct possibility. I think it's probably what is most likely here. However, I don't want to leave you all empty-handed because this is supposed to be a video about what a vanilla dom is. And so, for my money, what I think the most likely definition is for vanilla dom is a vanilla dom is somebody who only does a power exchange relationship. They don't do other kink activities. They don't do sadomasochism. They don't use toys. They don't do bondage. It's all just pure, plain, by itself power exchange. I would argue we don't really need to have a term like vanilla dom in that case because you can be any kind of dom and just only do power exchange. Like dom by itself only ever implies just doing power exchange. Like if you're doing anything else, you're a dom and something else, or you're a subtype of dom, or like either you're a dom and a sadist, or you're a dominant sadist, or you're a sadistic dom. Like we add modifiers onto dom to indicate other behaviors, kinks, etc. that a dominant person might have, or like it just like dom by itself does not need to be specified as like anything other than like what it already is. Like if it's not like there's nothing inherent in being a dom that says you have to do other things besides just being a dom. So I hope that's clear. So I don't think that we necessarily need to have the term vanilla dom, and I think the reason why I don't particularly love it is I don't like separating out the different aspects of BDSM as an umbrella term. Like there was once upon a time where SM, BD, and DS were all separate from each other, and we eventually coalesced under a single label. And I like being under one label. I like being under one big umbrella where I can go to a party, and on one side I can have 4 people dressed up like clowns interrogating somebody with squirt guns, and then on the other side, I can have somebody in black lingerie kneeling and staring at their dominant, awaiting every order from them. Like, I like that we can all share space and all be so different at the same time. I don't want to fragment stuff by saying, well, I'm different because I only do just power exchange and not all that other kinky stuff. Like, being a dom by itself is also a kink, even if you're not spanking somebody, putting them in bondage or rope or whatever. Like, it's all kink. It's a kink to do power exchange. And, there was a thoughtful comment I saw in that video, which is basically about how, like, in a heterosexual relationship with a male dominant, like, is it really that kinky to have a power exchange relationship that flows in that direction? I think it's, like, maybe food for thought, worth evaluating there. But, really, I don't think we need to have that as a term, and I think if anything in our community is worth keeping in mind that there's not this kink hierarchy of like more kink versus less kink. Like, you're just as kinky if you're only a dom in the bedroom and not 24/7 as somebody who's like waterboarding their partner every weekend and has like a harem of 4 submissives and like whatever else, right? Like, it's all equally valid as an approach to kink. It's not vanilla. Like, there's nothing vanilla about power exchange in my mind. It is a kink. It is its own thing. And I think if anything, if we want a term to specify somebody just being in power exchange, we can say maybe like a pure power exchange dom, or like a plain dom maybe. I don't like maybe kind of the judgment inherent in the term plain. It's not really eloquent language, but maybe it's more precise. And frankly, I do think that at least half of the communication problems we have online about kink terms would be solved if we just made it really clear that, like, you don't have to be just a dom. You can also be a top and a service top and a brat tamer and a sadist. And like, we already have different terminologies for lots of different approaches. And if what you want is to only do power exchange or to only do kink, like, that's fine. Like, that's all good. Not everything is a dom. And I do think it is really telling that, you know, maybe outside of a couple of references in blog posts or in a definition here and there, as a community, we don't really seem to have a counterbalance definition or word or phrase for submissives, right? Like, we have hard dom and soft dom and pleasure dom and vanilla dom and all these other types of doms. I've never heard anyone say hard sub before or pleasure sub. Like, I've never heard that before. And again, I'm not on TikTok, so maybe I miss certain things, but I think it's very interesting, like, how much we try to categorize and, like, piecemeal out different aspects of dominance, but we seem much more open to accepting that there's many different flavors of being a submissive without having to have so many different labels. But I'm getting away from the main thesis here of just talking about what a vanilla dom is. So that's my opinion of what I probably think a vanilla dom is, or what the closest, best definition is in my mind. I would love to know what your thoughts are about this. Again, if you have a TikTok that tells me what a vanilla dom is, please tell me the creator. Tell me, like, I don't know if you can link it necessarily, but tell me where I can find it, okay? I would love, love, love to know. I would also love to know, if you haven't shared yet or you want to repeat what you said before, what is your opinion about what a vanilla dom is? Do you think it's useful? Do you use it for yourself? Do you know anyone who uses it? If you have in-person, real-life experience of people using the phrase vanilla dom, again, also feel free to share. Let's increase the information out there available about this topic. And if you did enjoy this, you're not already, please do subscribe, because I make videos twice a week about all sorts of different kink and BDSM related subjects. And finally, if you like what I do, you can go ahead and support me over on Patreon. That's what makes all of these videos possible. If you do already support me over there, thank you so, so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you all next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.